Hey, Clinton community family, it's me and Adam White here tonight. We're going to be starting a new series. It's August, so there's going to be some new series starting off that we normally do each month. We're getting back to some of the how-to that we've done before, and this month, we're going to be talking about how-to parenting. There's a handful of things that we believe are important when it comes to parenting and being a good parent and becoming a better growing follower of Christ when it comes to parenting. I know sometimes it's difficult to figure out what's the best way to talk to a kid, what's the best way to discipline a kid, what's the best way to deal with kids. And as you saw tonight through the title, we're going to be talking about how to parent a strong-willed child. I believe me and Adam both have a little bit of experience of strong-willed children, just a tad bit. And we're going to have a great time with that tonight. We really encourage you to make sure that you're talking to us. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you're throwing them up there. We also encourage you, anyone that's watching right now, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, make sure that you're sharing it. If you're on YouTube, when you click share, you'll get a link that you'll be able to text to people. Text it to someone that maybe, has been going, I don't know what to do. My kid's becoming a teenager, and I don't know how to handle it. And we encourage you to just talk to us about that kind of stuff and discuss it with us. We encourage you, we just got done with our morning worship earlier this morning, but we do have in-person worship at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. in person, and then 11 a.m. online. And then also we have 7 p.m. Wednesday night life groups. We have 2 different life groups that go on in person here. And of course we have every Sunday night live or Clinton Community Live, whichever way you want to say it. Hey, Miss Debbie, it's great to see you. I heard you were in South Carolina. I hope you're having a great time. We miss and love you very, very much. But we have all those things that are regularly going on, and we encourage you to come be a part of those things. Talk to us online. Let us know how things are going. Ask questions. Enjoy time with us, because this is the whole reason we do this. So without further ado, I'm going to let Adam open up in prayer for us, and then we're just going to jump right into this bad boy. So Adam, if you will, pray for us real quick.
Dear Lord, help touch the words that we speak tonight.
Yes, God.
To allow people to hear something that may help them with raising their children in a godly way.
Yes, God.
And help it come out of our mouths so others can understand it. In God's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. So I'm going to give you all a heads up as we get started. Me and Adam, when we get together, we try to have as serious conversation as we can. That doesn't that doesn't always go exactly the way it is, but it's true. We have 3 ways that we believe is important when it comes to raising a strong-willed child in a godly way, I guess is the best way to do it. How do I parent a strong-willed child in a godly way? And 3 of the ways that we believe is important is definitely discipline, definitely grace, and then also freedom. And we're really going to touch on those few things. Hey, Miss Beth King, it's great to see you tonight. Hey, Ricky, turn Adam up. He can barely hear him, is what Pastor Ricky just said on YouTube. So, we encourage you to and then also Miss Debbie said turn Adam up. But also we're gonna have a good time talking about stuff. Adam, I asked you a question earlier, and I asked you not to give me the answer, but I want to ask here, and I want the answer. So I know you now. I would assume, because I'm how you are now, that you weren't always the best kid, but you said you were a good kid growing up.
Actually, I was. I was a really good kid. So, like some people know, I got a twin, and me and my twin were close. His name's Noah. But growing up, we done everything, and so I didn't have a whole lot of outside influence. Not to mention, I was raised, Pentecostal Free Will Baptist. So
okay,
and this was back in a time, if the doors were open, we were there.
Okay.
So, I was an angel until 6th grade.
Okay. So
when I say an angel, I was literally an angel.
So were both you and Noah good kids, or was he like the bad twin and you were the good twin? Or?
No, we were actually, both of us were good.
Okay, and then what happened in 6th grade? Like, just you grew up, you became a
No.
middle school boy. I mean, I know what happens.
My brother's brother went off the deep end, seemed like. And if you didn't catch it, my brother's brother beat myself. But so
I see. Yeah, Miss Beth. No, still can't hear him. Make sure your mic's on real quick, Adam. Just double check the light's on. Nope, his light's not on. Hold on. There we go.
Try that now.
Let's see. Thank you. Pastor Ricky and everybody else. This is what we want, though. I'm glad y'all are listening enough that y'all want to tell us what's going on.
So we got more than 3 people watching. We're doing good.
Yeah.
But no.
So your brother's brother, you say, went off deep
Yeah,
end.
my brother's brother went off deep end. I started getting, I got in some fights at school. I know, hard to believe.
You got in fights?
I know. It's like
Adam, you just seem like the most non-confrontational person.
I am most of the time, but I was pushed beyond my limits at the time. But middle school was probably the worst. Got in a little bit of trouble in high school. Nothing major.
But you sort of became your own person, sort of in those middle school, high
Yeah,
school.
yeah. I kind of come to my own. I didn't become a major drug dealer or anything.
Not a major.
Yeah. But yeah, that was one thing I never got around much of. But it was just I would push the limits as far as what I could do.
What your parents would allow and what the authority would allow.
Yeah.
See, I'm the opposite. I wasn't. I was a devil child most of growing up, and then high school I got saved, so I became a good kid.
Right.
I still pushed a lot of authority questions. I couldn't give you a roundabout number how many times I was probably written up in high school, like even remotely a number.
Yeah.
But I was definitely a strong-willed child. And I had strong-willed parents, though, too, to sort of keep me in some kind of balance of that. And I find that I have 2 kids. I know you have 2 young women. They're both teenagers now, right? They're both your girls?
13 and 15.
13 and 15. Lord knows. My kids are the same age part, but I'm about to have my first teenager, my little girl, and then Zion will be a couple years behind her on that one. And I know, because we know each other's families well enough, I know that we have 2 girls that are similar. They're strong-willed, but they're respective and they're quiet to themselves. And then my son and your oldest are very much more I'm strong-willed.
Outgoing.
Yeah. And I'm going to address my strong-willedness with everyone. And I love it because there's a side that I look and it's like, okay, there's a lot of me there, and I get that. And now I see, you always heard, I know maybe you heard it when you're growing up. Well, when you're a parent, you'll see.
Yep.
And there is. I became a parent, and I learned real quick. You know what I mean? Like what some of the things were. And I know one of the biggest things that I'm glad my parents were somewhat like, and I've learned a lot, is how to discipline a strong-willed kid without breaking their spirit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And with your oldest, how have you found that to be? Because I know we were talking a little bit about it earlier today. But, for anyone that's watching, I don't want to shock anyone. I believe me and Adam both are believers on spanking. There's a difference in spanking and beating.
Corporal punishment.
All right, there you go. Corporal punishment. I like that one.
We don't believe in the death penalty per se when it comes to raising children, but we do believe in the corporal punishment.
So how have you found a balance with that? And I know with and like I said, we talked about it a little bit. My oldest daughter, I raised my voice with her when she would get in trouble. Waterworks, and not just like a don't spank me waterworks, like legitimately brokenheartedness.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
See, that's my youngest.
Yeah. My son on the flip side, like I remember one time, and this is the balance of, like we said, there's a difference in spanking and beating. When I spank my son, typically it's 1, 2, 3 kind of thing, and now we have a conversation. You know why you got spanked. I remember one night I looked at him and I said, buddy, you know what you did was wrong. So you got a choice. Either you lose your movie for the night, because they normally fall asleep with a movie playing, or you get a spanking. And my son looked at me and goes, I'll take a spanking. I was sort of like, so I went and I spanked him. And after the 3rd whopping, he's got tears in his eyes while I'm spanking him. After the 3rd hit, he goes, I want the Avengers. And just wiped him away like nothing had happened. And I was like.
But see, something like that, that's a perfect moment. It's showing you spankings are not accomplishing what it needs to accomplish at that time.
That discipline isn't the discipline he needs.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that we got to touch on. When you have a strong-willed kid, the style of discipline you have to give them fits the style of child and strong-willed child that you have.
Right.
Because spanking's going to just ultimately, to some kid, especially the depending on the age when you start spanking and stop spanking, somehow is going to convert into that strong-willed child as physical enforcement is how to get my way. So you could create a bully on accident by that. You could create a violent person and an angry person on accident with that. So you have to balance that. What discipline is the best for a strong-willed child and their style? How have you found that to play? Again, we talk about your oldest one. How have you found that come into play with her as you raised her? Like, she's about to be 16, man. I mean,
Well, she got another year.
yeah.
But she does, at an early age, we learned that spanking her wasn't working. And then you got to figure out some other things. Kids nowadays have so much.
Oh, yeah.
I.e. technology, things to do, going out with friends. Do not take for granted stopping your kid from going out with friends. You know, and some parents are like, I can't let my kids go to. No, but maybe not a sleepover, but they're going over to a party or a pool party or something.
Just hanging out, yeah.
Don't let them go.
Yeah.
Don't
be their
don't
parent.
let them go.
Yeah.
Now, there's times you do things like that, it's going to detract from what you had planned to do.
Oh, yeah. Are you willing to give that up?
You got to. Or, say you were going to take your wife out for a date. It's your date night. And all of a sudden, you got to keep your kid home. Call a friend. Call somebody. Say, I need you to come sit with my kid, please. I got plans with my wife. This is what we were going to do. There's always a way to do it without it having to hurt you as well.
Yeah, and there's a way to do it to show the and again, one of the biggest things, and I thank my father and my mother for this. They weren't ever trying to be my friend.
Right.
They were being my parent. You know what I mean? There were things that we argued about, and like I said, I was definitely a strong-willed child. There were things we'd argue about as I got, especially in the teenage years. There's things that we would fight on. But my dad looked at me and goes, I ain't your friend, buddy. He goes, I'm your father. Now, granted, when I got a little older, became an adult, then you can start smearing some of the lines of friendship and parenthood. But when they're young and teenage years, it's one of those things of, I've got to give discipline. But there's a difference in discipline and breaking them. You know what I'm saying? Discipline teaches them not just some level of respect for authority, but also teaches them some level of you should have your own boundaries. And these are boundaries you shouldn't allow to be destroyed or disrespected by either.
And anytime you make a decision, there's going to be consequences for some of that.
I love what Miss Debbie said. Parenting isn't for sissies. Not at all.
So how did you get to do it?
Luck. Oh. I would say something else, but my wife might be watching. But the thing is we have to realize that some of this stuff is seriously about, like you said, it's not. I like how much it's not for sissies. It's not for you. Oh, I have to give up an extra thing. Oh, we were planning to go watch a movie, or maybe again, and I've had the experience with both my kids where it's like, all right, we're going to go do this, and then my kids do something wrong and go, all right, now we are not going to go do that. And it was even something maybe I would want to go do. Maybe we were going to all go watch a movie.
Right.
And now we all can't because y'all did something wrong. You know what I mean? And Daddy, and the thing is I'm not going to be a jerk and be like, well, here, I'm going to get a babysitter and now I'm going to go watch it by myself. I'm going to suffer too to make a point with it.
But wouldn't it kind of sometimes be better to say, you know what?
Oh, no.
We want to go see the movie. Y'all going to stay here with the babysitter? And guess who's seeing the movie? This guy.
And I've done that with them before too. But I also try to give them that level of okay, you've cost, your decisions don't just cost you pain.
Right, they affect people around you.
Everyone around you at times. And that's the discipline that we have to choose. So you teach them personal discipline, you teach them somewhat of a corporate discipline in the sense of it's everyone too. And then you also try to teach them this spiritual discipline of okay, so you've done something wrong. And sometimes what kids do wrong isn't even a sin. You know what I'm saying? They've not maybe sinned. They've just been, maybe just, again, strong-willed.
Right.
And we could say, well, disobedience is a sin. I'm not talking about like they went over there and they slapped one of their parents. They just said no, or they didn't do something.
They went and ate a cookie before supper.
So, but that goes into that. Now we got to teach them spiritual discipline and why it's important to be disciplined. I read an article. It blew my mind. One thing growing up, and I don't know if you were like this, one thing growing up, especially when I hit teenage years, that I could not stand. And I love you to death, Mom, if you're watching, but I could not stand for my mom, was when I'd ask a question. I get it when you're a little kid maybe, but when I became a teenager and my own person and my own thought, I couldn't stand when I'd ask a question and go, because I said so. Couldn't stand it.
Right.
Because I can think now. You know what I mean? I'm from about 13, 14 on, if I ask why, I'm not asking for because I'm your authority. I'm asking you to explain it. Because if it makes sense, I'm definitely going to do it. If it don't make sense, I'm going to not, be disobedient. I'm going to just go, well, why don't we do it this way then? You get what I'm saying? But I would always get told, because I said so, because I said so. And that really got to me.
Right.
I'm not going to lie. It bothered the bejesus out of me.
So you weren't being communicated with.
Yes. But there's the flip side of what I read in the article. So in me, after that aggravation growing up, I was like, I'll never do my kids that way. Mm-hmm. I'll never look at my kids and say, because I said so. And dude, for a good portion of their life, I didn't. I didn't look at my kids and go, because I said so. If my kids asked why, I don't care if they were 5. I'd sit them down and try to explain it to them at their level. I was reading an article one day and said, sometimes it's good to tell your kids because I said so. Because if you are a form and likeness of Christ and God to them as they're growing up, teaching them that godly way, this is how God interacts as a father to you, as someone who loves you like your mother, your parents, and stuff like that. If you're that form for them as they grow up, never always giving them the answer to why doesn't prepare them for sometimes when God asks them why and have faith. Because sometimes when God says, go do this, it's because he said so. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it changed some of my perspective because it's like, you know what, sometimes I can tell my kids that just to give them that foundation, spiritual discipline of sometimes it's just, you're asked to do this and this is what's asked of you. So learn how to just do what's asked of you at times. For someone in the military, I know you've learned that. Yeah, y'all learned that the roughest, most honest way. There's no why drill sergeant, there's yes drill sergeant.
Yes drill sergeant, yeah.
So I learned some of that with just reading that article, and I started treating my kids that way. Sometimes, and I would tell them, go do what I said, and when you're done, I'll give you a reason why. But right now, it's because I said so. But along with that spiritual discipline, we learn another spiritual discipline that we have to teach them, and that's grace. Because when you have little kids, teenagers, that they're the mirror of you, and we all know that your kid is a mirror of you in the best and worst aspects of you that you don't realize.
Yeah.
If you have a strong-willed child, it's probably because you're a strong-willed adult. You know what I mean? They go overboard because we've been tempered through years. They haven't been tempered yet.
Yeah.
We have to learn how to balance that with grace for them. And what's really difficult is at times we have to be balanced with grace for them when we weren't taught how to give grace as an adult or as a child. So when have you, and like I said, I told you I have a story a little bit about it. When have you found in your life that your either one of your kids, but especially your oldest, when have you found in your life that it's been good that maybe you gave them discipline, or maybe you felt like it was time to discipline, but instead there was this, hey, I need to show them grace to teach them a principle of what God's like in their life, or do you just like fly off the handle each time?
Depends on who you ask.
Crystal is the one who shows grace. You're over.
At times, depending on what the kids have done.
Yeah, no.
Back talking. It's like WWE in the house. Bam, body slam. No, but
yeah. Can you record that next time?
Yeah, we're good.
Not for evidence sake. I just want to watch it.
See how good her suplex is.
Yeah, exactly.
My youngest one actually is probably the one that receives the most grace.
Okay.
And when I say that, it's not because that was the first intended result of a consequence of something she had done. She is always one, she's so tender.
Okay.
If she heard the belt coming out of the loops, she is begging and pleading.
I don't wear my spanking belt. My spanking belt's hanging, so if he hears it come off the wall.
Well, that's all she would have. It's funny. That's all she'd have to hear. And then it's like, no, I'll do anything for you, so I don't have to get a spanking. She did not want a spanking.
She wanted grace.
She wanted grace because you explained to her what's happened. What's happened? Okay, this is what you done. This is going to be the consequences.
Yeah.
Well, then she comes back and says, well, instead of this, and she's crying at this time because she learned with her mama early on that it works when she cries best.
Oh, just her mama. I got you.
So, well, me, I fight through the water. I was taught in the military you wade through that water. Don't so,
My son never cries. I'm doing it wrong. He just looks and goes, all right. And I'm like,
my oldest one, she don't.
yeah, that get
Okay,
Kyla.
this is your punishment. Is that okay? Or these are your choices.
And I think that's a good way. In discipline and grace, I think what you just said, and we talk about that. I've said it earlier, and you've said it. There's a level of discipline that's covered beautifully with grace that it's like, here's your choices. You know what I'm saying? This is what's going on. You know what I mean? Because it really does go, you know what? Both of these are equally bad disciplines that I'm going to have to give to you, but I'm going to give you enough grace to realize that you did something so bad that you have to be punished. One of these two things are happening, but it's also something else you said. The grace comes in when you have that conversation.
Yep.
We know in the scripture, it tells us that, that God disciplines us when we're his children. He disciplines us. That's the mark of being his child. You know what I mean? The thing is discipline from him, and it even says that some of the discipline is just simple rebuke. It's him going, hey, stop that. You were wrong there. Fix it. I love what Miss Debbie said. Your wife is watching. I like what Miss Debbie said. One of the hardest but most powerful things to do as a parent is apologize.
Right.
It's one of those things that grace comes into play with all of those aspects. I've disciplined them. I've given them grace by giving them a choice, but I've also given them grace by knowing, like we said, knowing which one needs what and how to handle it. But on top of that, I know, and I was sort of hinting this to you before we started recording. I remember one time, and I cannot remember to save my life what my son had done. I wish I could go, he did blah, 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 and I was number 10. Now, I want to say this when it comes to, yeah, you've had a parent, and Miss Michelle, you're completely right. Each kid are so different with those things. I know this, and I want to give a little tidbit, and I'm guarantee you Adam's going to agree with this. I've never disciplined, let it be spanking or having to sit down in a conversation, a hard conversation, or taking away their stuff. I never do it if they've done something that angers me. I wait to remove that emotion, and then I step in. It may take 20, 30 minutes, but I will never discipline my kid out of anger.
Right.
Because anger's not what is the discipline isn't anger. The discipline is discipline. And I've got to remove my anger out of the scenario. No matter how angry I may be, I have to remove it out of the scenario so he or she doesn't respond to it as well. Discipline is solely based out of anger. I want them to understand discipline is based out of rules and regulations and expectations. So the grace that I remember I given my son, he done something really bad and I was really angry. Like I was angry. So I told him to go sit in his room until I came and talked to him. He's not allowed to do anything, just sit there. Where do you want me to sit? In the middle of the floor, I don't care. You're just sitting there until I get back. So I had to calm myself down. I had to be able to deal with, my own emotions of how upset I was. And I remember I went in there to go spank him. And I looked at him, I said, buddy, you know what you did was wrong. And he starts crying. I do know what I did was wrong. I'm sorry, Daddy, da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, you know what I got to do? Yes, Daddy, I deserve a spanking. And like it wasn't an act. He was soulfully realizing what he had done. And right when I was about to spank him, man, I'm no lie. Right in my spirit, I heard God go, give him grace and show him what I'm about. And I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? God was like, how many times have you done something completely against what I have specifically told you?
Right.
And you deserved all of it. And I stepped in. And I said, no. I'm going to give you grace. Let's get it right again. And it broke my heart. I was almost in tears with my son at that point in time. Like, it's okay, little buddy. And I sat him on my leg, and I remember talking to him. And it's one of those things that I showed him the love of Christ in that moment. That's the spiritual discipline that you can give with grace, is you got to teach your kids that even when there's that infraction, that there was this grace given to us through Christ Jesus. There was this grace. And I try to make sure my kids get that. I try to make sure they really understand that. So when they have their personal relationship with God, there's things that they remember of, hey, man, God gives us grace. Yes, he'll discipline us when we've done things wrong, but God's also not Zeus up in heaven waiting for us to strike us with lightning bolts. He's the Father who sent the Son. You know what I mean? And grace is the hardest, though. I'm going to be honest. Discipline is the easiest because it's the natural posture of a parent to discipline a kid. Even somewhat freedom is a natural posture. As they get older, you want them to be more free, the last point we're about to go to. But grace is the hardest one because I don't want to be what's the word? I don't want to be an enabler to what they do wrong. I don't want to, like I said, I'm not trying to just be their friend. I'm trying to be their parent. So grace is that gray area where most of us, and I know for me, I'm still learning it as my daughter's becoming a teenager and everything. Where have you found yourself? And I mean, you and Crystal work together. I mean, I was going to say something really mean. There's a lot of ladies watching, but Crystal can assume what the joke I was going to make about the job she has. but where have y'all found? And parenting is a teamwork thing. I know me and my wife, there's been times that like we have to talk, well, what punishment are we going to do? Where have y'all found, I don't want to say so much odds, but where one of you are like, well, this is hard nosed, we got to do this. And the other one's like, no, we should. Where at the time that you find that, what do y'all normally work through to show grace and work discipline and grace balance with each other?
Tough question.
I know. I mean, I'm all about it.
You went deep on me.
Yeah.
Good night. No, we have, honestly, me and Crystal, 95% of the time, we are eye to eye on what we need to do. And we got lucky and learned kind of early on that there's going to be a point where you can't just spank your children. That is true, Shug. You temper me more than anything else. But you learn that there is a point that you can't just, as far as when you're disciplining them, it's not just a physical discipline. Mm-hmm. Okay, you teach them. You take something away, because Callie was younger than Lily. As far as, okay, we're gonna. You can't do this, or you're not going to be able to do this. No, you can't watch TV for a week. You got to find that thing that kind of hurts them the most, and only as a young child does spanking do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, Zion is already getting to the age, and he's going to be 11. Zion's already getting to the age where I'm like, I think this needs to stop. Mm-hmm. This is where grounding comes into play. This is where... And again, some of that grace, comes into play. I remember the other day, and Zion realizes some of the grace, and that's one thing that's wonderful. Extra chores worked with Callie. With Zion, there's some of that I do with him too now. But with Zion, it'll be like, all right, buddy, you did something you shouldn't have, so you're going to lose your TV and screen privileges. So no. Well, when I say cell phone, he has one of my old cell phones that he uses. So no cell phone, no laptop, no TV, no video games. You're done for tomorrow. None. You're gonna. And there's a few things I'll never take away from him though. This is where some of that grace is important to me. Zion loves to draw. As Zion likes to say, he likes to imaginate. So he'll walk around the living room and he'll play a whole scenario. That's definitely all of me and him. The ADD and me, dude. I can hold a whole creative world out inside of my mind. So I won't take that away from him. I'm not going to make him sit down and just look at a spot on the wall. Right. But all the other stuff you got to take away. And like the reason I won't take away drawing is, man, if you're artistic, I'm not going to punish you for a gift you have. As a matter of fact, since you can't look at TV or play video games, go draw, buddy. I'll encourage that artism. Right. And those are things like it's finding him knowing that grace, and he'll do that, and then he'll go do extra chores all by himself and then go, can I have TV now? I did all this stuff that you didn't ask me to do. And those are the things that I think some of those important, like you said, temper each other. Because there's times that I'm like, and me and Paula, we see eye to eye, and there's some times that it's like, oh, Daddy, I did all this extra cleaning, can I have TV back? And I'll be like, no. And then Paula would come here. He did stuff we didn't ask him. Okay, fine, you're right. You can go to. And sometimes it's vice versa. Like, she's the one who gave him the punishment. He started doing all this extra stuff to make up for it and apologizing. And I'm like, all right, buddy, now that you do it, you can have your movie tonight at least. You know what I mean? And I think those are the things that we have to be balanced on, because us as adults are like that. I mean, dude, you get pulled over for going 5 miles over, you're really hoping that cop's having a good day and gives you a little bit of grace and goes, man, it was only 5 miles. You know what I mean? And we have to be balanced with that with our kids. When we're teaching them in somewhat of an unrealistic world where there is grace given to us. But the biggest thing, and this is one thing that I know we got a little bit of time left, but we want to really make sure that we hit on. Me and you didn't grow up with the internet. I mean, I think you're only about 8 years older than me or so. I don't know exactly.
I'm 24.
Okay, yeah. Well, then I'm only about 8 years older than you. But we didn't grow up with the internet.
No.
We didn't grow up with cell phones.
Well, there was bag phones when I was growing up.
Well, I'll put it this way. My first
They
cell
were
phone,
like, you know.
my first cell phones when I graduated high school was one of those Nokia phones, the bricks that you could build a house with if you
Yeah.
need to. And I bought that and I had a prepaid. My parents didn't have it. I had a cell phone for my parents had a cell phone. You know what I'm saying? My actual first cell phone company cell phone was I'd already moved out. But we didn't grow up with texting, social media, internet. We had regular old TV.
The world was not right at our fingertips.
And wasn't as dangerous because of that. And I'm going to be...
Certain aspects.
Certain aspects. I agree.
Let's see. My mom and dad thought Halloween night that every piece of candy was going to have a needle, razor blade.
Oh, can I ask you a serious question? Did y'all have to pour it out and go through, like, pour the candy out in the middle of the floor on the kitchen table and y'all inspect each piece?
No, we didn't celebrate Halloween.
Okay, we did though. On the joke that you just made about the candy, yeah, but that's good. It's no and hand popping at a young age. But no, on a serious note, what you just said, dude, I remember that. Mm-hmm. Pouring out the bags of candy and going through and making sure none of them were already ripped open. None of them, that was stuff that they were worried about. Now what we have to worry about is someone finding out where I live at a whole nother state because my daughter or my son weren't taught to not.
Well, they were playing Minecraft and got to talking to Billy Bob here, who says he's 7 over in North Dakota.
And now all of a sudden, or even more so as the teenagers become, the teenagers. I know Kyla has a phone. She has her own phone and everything. Mm-hmm. Now, there's restrictions on it, thank God. And I'm going to be honest, there's a lot of tech companies I'm not a big fan of, but thank God of Google, of what Google's done. I can pull my phone out right now and shut her phone down. You know what I'm saying? And she can't change that. She couldn't do anything to change it. And it's a free setup through Google with Android and everything. I can track any place she's at. Even if her phone cuts off, I can cut it back on kind of thing. Like, thank goodness for that. I can also see what app she's using and things and checking text. But the thing is how much freedom can I give as they get older? And we've got to be careful with this. How much freedom should I give in the world that we live in now as they get older that doesn't restrict or constrict them or even punish them by accident? And how much do I impose on them to make sure that they're still safe? And I think that's difficult because the thing is, like, if I got a strong-willed kid, I'm gonna give you a heads up. First off, my fear is as Zion gets older and smarter, he's my strong-willed kid. I'm gonna put all these protections in place for him, and he's gonna. And not saying my daughter's not smart enough, but knowing him, he's gonna find ways around them. And those are the things that, like, how do we balance that? How have you found that? Like I said, your daughters are a little older than mine. How have you found a balance to that with your daughters?
Well, let's take social media platforms. Let's work with that because that's probably one of the biggest things. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's like some type of new platform popping up every month.
Oh, definitely.
Do you know what your kids are looking at? Do you understand what they're capable of seeing on certain platforms?
Yeah.
We had discussed some TikTok stuff to start with, but we didn't know about it.
Okay.
So let's look into it. That's what we done. All of a sudden,
so you got a TikTok? Is that what I'm hearing? No. I'm going to follow you real quick.
No,
I don't have a TikTok either. Don't worry.
Not no more.
Okay, yeah, well, no, it's
TikTok got cut out quick.
Yeah, no, it's rough.
Okay, but if we hadn't looked into it, it's like all my friends are on TikTok, but there's so much worldly filth.
Well, it's the same way with Snapchat. Like,
yes,
Kyla wants Snapchat really bad, and I've been like, you're not old enough yet. There's no offense to that, no disrespect to you. And it goes back to a phrase that I remember my mom used to say to me all the time. It's not that I don't trust you, it's that I don't trust them.
Yeah. You know, and look at Facebook. Look what Facebook has become versus what it started to be.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's really gotten away from what it was first designed to be.
It's almost an anti-social network instead of a social network.
It was like, Argument Central.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost going down to the beauty shop and getting your hairs done.
But it's the new way to get bullied without even the parents knowing at all. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And so what I find, and again, a little bit of props to Google with this. My kids, they can go on YouTube, but they're on YouTube Kids is what it's called through Kyla's phone and Zion through my old phone. And it blocks them until they're 13. And I put all their information in so they can't change it. They can't go and go, oh, I'm over age of 13.
Right.
Once Kyla hits 13, I'm going to be a little more nervous because then she can go on to full-fledged YouTube. And then there's those times of like, well, you've got to say you're 18, and all you got to do to say you're 18 is
click a box.
click a box. And I'm sorry, if all I had to do was click a box. So, what are some, and I know me and you talked a little bit, and I want to sort of end with this as we move forward. What are some boundaries you've put in place? Cell phone, social media, and internet for your girls and parenting in general. I'll put it this way. I'll say mine, and then I want you to explain yours. During the summer, and Kyla talks to communicate with teenagers. That's what I'm going to get to. So Kyla talks to Emery and some other girls here from the church, and she'll FaceTime them or Google Duo them or whatever it is, or Kids Messenger them, and FaceTime them the whole time and play games with them and everything like that.
Right.
During the summer, she has a lot more freedom, in the sense of okay, 11 o'clock, because she's somewhat, again, like Daddy on this area. She's a night owl. You know what I mean? The later it gets, it's like the more aware and awake she gets. So she'll, Kyla, if their parents let them stay up till 10 or 11 playing games and you're FaceTiming all the time, that's cool. But at 11, it ends. Now, school year, 9 o'clock, that ends.
Right.
And if you want to text until 10, so I'll give you a little extra time, because you're already laying in bed, maybe you're going to bed texting, okay. But at 10, all of it ends. You know what I'm saying? And somewhat the reason my kids get that, and I'll say it this way, because of my schedule especially, there's some days I don't get home till 8. So to tell her everything has to end at, 8 o'clock or this and that isn't fair to her, because there's sometimes she doesn't get home till 8. You know what I'm saying? So I try to balance things with their life that they interact with.
Right.
But there's a time set for when she can use her phone. You know what I'm saying? And I can control that completely if I wanted to. But I trust her enough that I let her do it, and if I catch her, she gets in trouble. Video games, they can't get without me. Trust me, if they bought a video game and I found out, there'd be a whole slew of issues.
Right. Sledgehammer, phone.
Yeah. But on top of that, then on top of that is movies they watch, TV they watch, the way they interact. Kyla knows the rules, I knows the rule. You never tell anyone your real name. If you're watching YouTube or something like this, Facebook is a little harder because your real name's popping up. But if you're on YouTube, you don't have to have your real name, or somewhere other sites. You never tell them your real name. You never tell them your address. You never tell them your age. Never ever in your life. And those are sort of the simple rules that we've started out with to build them. And what Crystal has even said here in the comments, we have sat down and talked to Kyla, and this is why.
Remember what? 100 years ago, kids, 12, 13, 14, were doing so much more in relation to family stuff, okay? Mm-hmm. Than what most parents give their kids credit for nowadays. Mm-hmm. Lily, she's 13, okay? Loves to bake. She'll get in there and bake a cake. She'll find a recipe, want to try it out. Do we stop her? No. Biggest thing is, hey, you got to clean up the kitchen.
You encourage that, again, the artistic side of her.
Which her thing is, that's her chore, is the dishes. She despises it. She says we eat too much at the house, but honestly, we don't, people. We eat out too much.
Who are you telling on that point?
But, she does those things, and most people think their 13-year-olds can't run a broom. Let me tell you, they can run a phone, they can run a broom.
Oh, yeah.
But get them chores off of yourself.
Zion and Kyla's already both learned how to use a zero turn. That's all I'm saying. Now, and I'm not doing this because they're different, but I do sort of have a different ideology. Kyla knows how to cut the grass, but that's Zion's task. And as he gets older, he starts to do a little bit of it. I still cut most of the grass, but Zion has helped out and he's done it. But on the flip side, Kyla helps her mommy with all the stuff that mommy does, but Zion knows how to do all of it too.
Right.
I want to create my kids to be independent enough that if Kyla goes to college and graduates and hasn't met a man yet but wants to own her own home until she finds a dude, she knows how to cut her own grass, take care of her own self and everything.
Well, don't forget also, with that aspect, don't forget checking your oil.
All that
stuff. Having changed the blades, but different things like that.
But giving them freedom and setting the boundaries are important. I think the biggest thing, and me and you talked about this a lot before, one of the biggest things that you need to do with your kids as we wrap up is just talk to them.
Yeah.
And don't talk to them. That sometimes, especially teenage years, and I've learned this more and more with Kyla, I don't talk to her like she's my child, but I don't talk to her like a child.
Childish.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, she's my child, but I don't talk to her like a child. I talk to her understanding that she's being taught algebra already in 6th grade, so she's got cognitive understanding to have a real conversation. We need to treat, and I do that even in the spiritual side. Do you get what I'm saying? Like when it comes to spiritual things, just the greatest example with all this for Kyla is, and if she ever watches this, she'll be embarrassed, but I'll be honest. So not too long ago, and I want to give mad props to Trevor and Miriam. Miriam was speaking a couple Wednesday nights ago, and just talked about being a pastor's child or a missionary child.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a heads up. My kid, I was not raised by pastors. I mean, you've heard me talk about my dad. My dad was not a pastor.
Right.
No one was going to mistake him as a pastor, nothing.
Right.
So I don't know what it's like to be a pastor's kid. I don't. I got no idea. You want to talk about someone that's new territory to? It's me. So I'm thankful that Miriam's there to talk to Kyla about being a pastor's kid. But me and Paula talked to Kyla a little bit today and said, hey, because Paula's parents weren't going to be mistaken as missionaries or pastors either, don't worry.
Yeah.
We grew up in a different world than she did. So there's going to be things that maybe, Kyla, we won't get. We want you to talk to us about it.
Yeah.
And there might not be a lot of advice per se we can give to you, because I don't know what it's like to feel the pressure of what you feel. But at least tell us about it so we're not in the dark. But we talked to her like I'm talking to you, just honest. We love you. We care about you. And I don't get it. I'm not going to lie to you, Kyla. I don't get it what it's like to be a pastor's kid. Wasn't one. I don't get that. I grew up in a completely different world than you. By the time I was your age, I was doing quite illegal things.
Right.
But I talked to her. And as she's gotten older, I've actually let her in on more of the things that I've done. Zion doesn't know all the bad things I've done, but Kyla knows more and more of the things that I've done that, when I say illegal, she knows. And I don't hide it from her, because I find it greatly, talk to them, not at them. I agree, Miss Naomi, that's a great way. I love how Miss Debbie said, our goal as a parent is to create growing followers of Christ who are mature and capable. We don't have to raise kids. They know how to be kids. We have to raise them to be adults. I agree. I always tell my wife that. I'm not trying to raise a 13-year-old. I'm trying to raise an 18-year-old, because that's the age that hopefully they grow up and they want to move out and everything. And it's also the age that they have to start paying rent. I'm just going to be honest. They know the deal. But yeah. But the thing is I'm raising an adult that just happens to be my child as I'm raising him. And I try not to I don't sugarcoat it. I won't hide stuff from them. I'm honest with them. But I give them freedom. When they're strong-willed, it's one of those things that sometimes freedom is mind-boggling. There's times that I've got on to Kyla or Zion, and then I let them explain it to me as I have a conversation. And then I realize, as Miss Debbie said, one of the hardest things to do is go, I was wrong about that. You're right. And we just talk.
Yeah. And don't forget, too, there's things that parents complain that's not taught in school.
They don't teach at home.
Right. They don't teach it at home either. Accounting or bookkeeping, taking care of your bills. Look, there's nothing wrong with your kid sitting there side of you while you pay your bills.
There's nothing wrong. I'll put it this way. I'll even go further. Good luck with the 18. I'm going to try, Miss Naomi. Trust me. Don't worry. I'll put it this way. My daughter and son were there with me. And it was a new experience for me. I'm just going to believe it. So 3 years ago, we bought 2 cars. I bought my car, and a couple months later, we bought my wife's car.
Right.
First time I ever took a car loan out, was never taught how to do it. Nothing against my mom and dad, just was never taught how to do it, right? My kids were next to me every step of the way. They watched me sign the paperwork at the bank. They watched me sign the paperwork at the dealership. You know what I'm saying?
It don't just happen.
Yeah. And this is the thing. When me and my wife, God willing, and pray for us, we want to start the process of buying a home. We've been renting for a long time. Our dream is now to start working towards buying a home and doing all that stuff. And my daughter knows, and my son knows, every step of the way, we want you to watch. Because when it's your turn, I'm flying blind right now. I have to ask friends or even the
who do I talk to about this?
Yeah. So I want them to know. But that's the freedom that we got to give them, is treat them like that already. Treat them like they're going to be there. So I think it's great that again, having kids is a glorious event, and it's wonderful. I encourage you, again, when we talk about dealing with kids, when they get to a certain age, especially when teenagers, and I know me and you, like I said, we got teenage, I'm about to have a teenage girl, you got 2 teenage girls. Teach them to be the women of God that you already see in them, I guess is the best way I can put it. And,
well, hopefully most people can be like myself and try to be like your mom.
Yeah, I got you.
You know.
And you have a wife to look up to or a woman to look up to.
They have a godly mother who they can learn a lot from.
So Crystal's not their mom?
No. It's finally out. But
I love you, Crystal. I can't wait for her to comment back for that one.
Oh, it'll probably come in a minute. So, but there's so many that don't nowadays.
Yeah.
And that is like a really big aspect. You know, it's one thing to talk about some of these things, but to be able to, you know, with my 2 girls, for them to be able to look at their mom and see what she does and how she does, you know, and bless her heart, you know, she is busy lady. She's busy,
Oh, no, she's amazing.
You know, working.
Miss Crystal's
she's
great.
in school, going to school herself, you know. She's got this husband she's got to keep taking care of. You know,
She's married to 2 guys?
Yeah. But, you know, her plate's full.
Oh,
you know.
I don't know her school and stuff. I don't know if she's telling everybody, but I know also her school and stuff is on her plate too.
Yep. So, you know, but they see that things don't just get given.
Oh.
You know, you have to work for it. You know, luckily we got Callie working now, so you know they took her at 15.
That's good. I mean, I was working at.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, you can't get in the biker field nowadays because you know it's all migrant. Well, 95% of it's migrant.
Well, that and the law don't really smile upon 13-year-old kids picking tobacco anymore.
Maybe they need to go back to it.
Yeah, but I mean these things, and again, I think they're important, guys. I think they're things you got to think about. Like I said, all month of August we're going to be talking about parenting. Next week, Michelle McKee is going to be back with me, and we're going to talk about parenting. She's got a kid that's slightly older than mine and yours. Mm-hmm. She's got she's an only child. Her son is about to actually graduate and start moving into his own life.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk a little bit about letting go. You know what I mean? Like how do you start?
How do you cut the apron strings?
Yeah. How do you?
What they used to say?
Yeah. But how do you also, as a parent, deal with that sort of feeling of? I hate to say I'm giving you over to, but I'm giving you to the world to go be yourself and still be. And again, I don't know.
So you mean you can actually go and do stuff as like a husband and wife and not have kids with you?
I'm assuming because I think they're already there. Michelle and them went on like a 2-week vacation, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I'm not gonna lie.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, dude, you've only got what 3 more years. You got one of them going.
Yeah, but yeah. Well, no, Callie, Lily actually might be graduating early. So
there you go. Crystal, y'all got plans to have.
Yeah.
But again, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Adam. And like I said, Adam's going to be on a regular rotation that we're having, and we're going to see new faces.
At least once a year.
At least once a year, yeah.
So.
But if you enjoyed Adam and Crystal, no comment on that one either. But we thank you guys so much. I'm going to pray real quick. We're going to close out, and we're going to let y'all go. So if you will, bow your heads. God, I want to thank you for the gift of being a parent. I want to thank you for the gift of having children and learning how to raise them. I think my dad said it real great to me one day. Sometimes raising kids are easy because the kids are easy to raise. So I pray that we can look at our kids even when they're strong-willed and realize that the kids are wanting to be raised, wanting to be disciplined, wanting to be shown grace, and wanting to have freedom. And we can do those things in a godly way and help them become growing followers of Christ as we become better growing followers of Christ. Again, thank you so much for all that you do and what you're going to do in the future, and that you're going to help us grow in more and more ways. In Christ's name, I pray. Amen. Guys, thank y'all so much. Mr. David had some years of hard farm work, taught me great lessons as a kid. Work ethic, value, money, respect. Oh, I agree, Mr. David. Trust me. We didn't so much work in a farm, but I'll say this.
David trying to say he actually worked in a farm.
Oh, goodness gracious. We had a garden growing up. All of a sudden, this they had already stopped allowing some kids in farms, but my dad knew a way around that, and we had a garden. And I'm not talking about we planted a few things.
Right.
And I remember working all that stuff. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. If no one's told you today, we love you. We believe in you. We believe God's got a great plan for you. And we hope that y'all have a great day. And we can't wait to see you again. God bless.